Hello, this is Patrick from Re3D. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the single board Linux computer that we're adding to OpenGB. If you think about the kind of advanced features you might want to add to a 3D printer, like a touchscreen, a web access, or networking, you basically need to have a single board computer. And if we're sticking with the open source development and easily hackable, easily getting information about all of the hardware, really it means we're looking at one of these single board development Linux computers. So in the last couple of years, there's been an explosion of single board computers. So we looked at a bunch of them to think about including them in OpenGB. This is a QB board, if you can see that. It's a nice little board. It has Ethernet, double USB, HDMI output, all that good stuff. This is the also famous Raspberry Pi, a huge hit. This is a Raspberry Pi B. There's a couple things that, although I love this little board, there's a couple things that I don't really like about it when you think about, putting in a kit or mounting it somewhere. And the number one thing is the fact that the headers are on one side. So as a mechanical engineer, having the headers on one side as opposed to double headers like that you find on an Arduino makes it difficult to mount any kind of shields onto it because they have a tendency to flex, and there's not really a good mounting solution. Also, up until recently, the mounting holes on Raspberry Pi have been kind of a mess and very difficult to deal with. This is a B, which is pretty good. Now it finally has 4 holes. Previously, there was only 2, and before that, there was none. So it makes it very difficult to mount this like in a fixed location. Other than that, this is a nice little board. It has a lot of feature-rich. It is feature-rich. There is a lot of USB connections, Ethernet, HDMI output, all that good stuff. This is a Banana Pi. It's very similar to a Raspberry Pi. Another one we played with. This is a Humming board. Let me see if I can get it in focus. Another one we play with. Again, it only has headers on one side. This is an Odroid out of South Korea. One of the problems with this one is it doesn't have a header, so it doesn't have a lot of general purpose input-output pins. It does have a really big heatsink though. This is I'm going to say this incorrectly, but Omex. This is a very feature-rich board. It is kind of huge. It does have headers on both sides, and the headers are much more conducive to a ribbon cable as opposed to mounting some kind of shield on it. But there's another one we played with. This is a BeagleBone Black. There's a lot of things I like about this board. From a mechanical point of view, it has 4 mounting holes that are easily accessible. It also has double headers so that you can plug shields into it that can be firmly attached. It has a lot of memory. It has onboard, basically like a hard drive. It's not a hard drive, of course. It has onboard memory, and so you don't necessarily have to rely on a SD card. It has USB. It has Ethernet. It has HDMI output, HDMI mini. But this is a great board. One of the things that we liked the most about this board was there is off-the-shelf touch screens that can be plugged into this board and it actually just works with the default image that it comes with, the Linux image. Like for example, here's one. Here's the BeagleBone Black. See how it firmly mounts to this touchscreen? So this is a touchscreen. You can see that we have, let me see if I don't know if I can touch it. So we have started working on user interface. So what's nice about this is, as a mechanical engineer, I didn't have to do any kind of programming. I didn't have to recompile the kernel. I didn't have to do any of that stuff to get this touchscreen to work. And now that I don't have to even do any mounting solutions because the the BeagleBone connects right to it. Now, I looked around for a similar situation for a Raspberry Pi, and I couldn't find one. And so there may be one out there which would be great. just because people love Raspberry Pis, that it might be an opportunity to offer that instead of a BeagleBone Black. But right now, BeagleBone Black was the only one I found that had that ready-made solution that you can buy. Okay, one thing we have to talk about is the fact that everything I just showed you was a development board. These are boards that aren't really necessarily meant to be in production. So for instance, if you're making a smart refrigerator or a smart or like a dishwasher or something like that, and you need a to network it, or if you want to do something fancy, you're going to put a production ready Linux Tinkerboard computer in it, but you're going to go buy one that's $200, $300, and you're going to hire an embedded engineer to do the software for you and do the mounting and all that, right? So development boards are really meant to like show off chips and systems, and so they're not really meant for production because their designs are usually can vary year to year and they change a lot. So one of the things that we are doing is, although we're using we're using a development board, we like development boards because the thing about a development board is it's made to be easy to use, right? And not only that, but like a Raspberry Pi, or a BeagleBone Black, have this huge community of users that post all their solutions online, right? Because most of them are doing it kind of hobbyists. So if you have any kind of idea you want to add or a feature you want to add to your printer, and you can probably Google that with a BeagleBone Black and find that someone has already done that feature. So for instance, say you wanted to add accelerometers, so you can measure whether or not like your nozzle hits the bed or hits the part. So you can easily look up, someone has posted, I guarantee it, a accelerometer that's hooked up to a BeagleBone Black. Okay, so that's some of the hardware solutions that we looked at. I think in the future we'll do a post about getting more in the nitty-gritty of programming it and configuring Linux and all that kind of good stuff. So I think that's it for today. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.